Hey guys, today we're going to learn every single mechanic of Gnomeregan, and we're going to learn how to counter that, how to counter every single boss and everything they do. Let's begin. Okay, Crowd Pummeler. There's three things you should know about. Number one, you see this target symbol that is moving? When I'm going to start the encounter, it's going to go like that. See this? So when this red symbol targets your minis, the cannon will shoot there. And if it hits your minis, they're going to be pushed away from this spot. And they might be pushed away from the platform completely and die right away. You see this Gnomish Harm Prevention belt right here? It can also be spawned right here, right below the top chest. What it does is whoever hits the mini that passes through it first gets the buff that makes the mini completely invincible, cannot be pushed, cannot be frozen, polymorphed. The buff doesn't last very long. That's why the only reason to grab this buff is so that nobody else grabs it. And also, it only affects one little mini, so if the pile of chickens passes through this, only one chicken will be affected. So, most of the cases, I prefer to completely ignore it. Number 3, the boss himself. He doesn't attack ranged targets, he only attacks in melee range, which means if you're a ranged target, he has to come towards you first, so you're in his melee range, and then he does a spin around, which pushes everybody away and damaging them. If you are too close to the edge of the platform I mean the whole map, you're gonna die. Okay, the talent that I took was when you summon Alliance Mini, it summons the Footman at your core. That's the reason why my top row of my minis are all Alliance. Okay. See, it barely damages you, but it pushes you. And as you can see, the invincibility doesn't last long. That's why it's not really worth taking. Just as long as the enemy doesn't get it, you're fine. It's not gonna help you kill the boss. Oh, sure, of course. See? My Necromancer just died. It was pushed by the cannon. So. Boom. Everybody died except Necromancer. Yeah. So, yeah, there is nothing to say. You just damage him a little bit, damage him, and one day he'll die. That's all you do. You can get a perfect match against this boss, but you're gonna struggle on other bosses if you do it this way. So it's better to suffer here a little bit and then be good at the very end. I'm gonna say that a lot. Banshee would also be a great choice here. You don't have to copy my deck, I'm just showing you what I have. Yeah, there's no way to cheat here. Okay, here's the second boss. Electrocutioner 6000. The boss himself, or is this a boy or girl? Whatever. The boss itself, let's call it this way, attacks a single target from range and cone and AoEs in melee. Now, this is the hardest, in my opinion, this is the hardest boss of the dungeon, and you have to build your deck the way that you either struggle on this boss or on the last boss. I prefer to struggle on this boss and do the last boss easily. I'll show you when we get to the third boss. Here's what he does. So the boss himself, I already said that. The boss spawns these ads, these leper gnomes. Just the melee units don't really hit hard. Never had any problems with them. Here is a problem. These two towers, they are, if you see these little clouds around the tower, they are surrounded by poison. And obviously in the melee range, on the high levels, it's going to be very problematic to take these towers. Also, the second biggest problem is that the map is ridiculously small. So when you deploy like one little thing, for example, you send it in the center, it goes on top, it gets aggroed by both towers because these towers have the longest range out of all three types of towers. What we can do is we can use it in our advantage. We can, send some fat, tough mini in the center. The both towers are gonna get aggroed, and we'll be able to take the towers. And after you take the towers, that's pretty much where you win the game. Then you just go for the boss, and it's much easier. The biggest problem of this whole dungeon is just this moment, taking the towers. I believe they're all useless, so I decided to take the one with spells. Okay. So the main goal here is to get the towers as fast as possible and keep them. And try not to do it in a melee range because, like I said, the towers are poisoned around. Just keep that in mind. Getting the towers is pretty much winning the whole dungeon. That's how important and hard it is. Sometimes I'm even surprised with me how stupid I am and naive. I'm going to deploy Jaina. Look where I'm doing that. Right here. This is a safe spot. So the poison is not going to affect me here. So our goblin sappers are not gonna be needed in the next fight. I only have them for this one. Only to take the towers quickly. I don't use meat wagons here because the towers can reach them, even with the longer range. And the gargoyle would be a great choice, but gargoyle is more expensive. But it can work even better, I think, than goblin sappers. Okay. Dead. Okay, the last boss of the dungeon is Mekgineer Thermaplugg. This boss is surrounded by a shield, and you barely do any damage to the boss with your minis. So what you do is, you see this 3 spots on the floor? If I click one of them, it says amp switch. So from time to time, you will see the little, like a light bulb looking things showing up from the ground. When your mini destroys it, it spawns a mine right here in the middle, and it goes, you see the escalator, 1 points to us, 1 points to the boss. The mine will be on the boss's escalator, and it will hit the boss. So you destroy the amp switch, 1 mine will be thrown to at the boss. Once you throw enough mines, once you destroy enough of these amp switches, the boss dies. Now, here is a problem with that. When you send the mini from your core to the boss, while the mini is on its way, if the mini sees an arm switch, it destroys an arm switch, and you pretty much attack the boss. If your mini reaches the boss, it starts attacking the boss, but the boss is invincible to your mini's attacks. That means that once you reach the boss, your mini is pretty much useless. So the longer it takes your mini to get to the boss, the better. Because when these arm switches show up, your mini is not aggroed by the boss yet, and it can, react on these arm switches. So fast minis are not allowed here. Should not use fast minis here. Number 2, the flying minis here are totally useless. They don't hit these arm switches. So if you have a flying deck, you're gonna struggle on this boss. Also, kobolds don't react on arm switches. And by the way, we have these 2 golden nodes here, so it's great. We're gonna have a lot of gold. Now, you have to decide. You either set up your deck to struggle on the second boss. For example, you build a flying deck, which will easily beat the second boss, but you're gonna struggle on this one. Or you struggle on the second boss, and you will easily beat this guy. For this boss, you will need a lot of unbound stuff and slow stuff. For example, necromancers work really well, meat wagons work really well, and I'll show you whatever I have in my deck will work really well, I guess. And this is a 3rd challenge. Where is it? Come on. Okay, this guy. This is a very unusual fight. And like I said, the idea is to take the longest walk you can. Like that, yeah. Boom. And look. Mine just hit the boss. Boom. Okay. Yeah, Banshee would be a great choice here too. Like I said, I just picked a lot of Alliance minis because every time you deploy one, it spawns an extra footman, and extra minis in this particular encounter are great to have, because these amp watches, they spawn everywhere, and you need as many hands as you can get. That is all. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions, let me know.